Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to another live session. Today we have Anshuman Singh, who is like ex-lead engineer at Facebook, who have been the part of building a messenger, and also he built a 6,000 crore company, that is Scalar. And today he will be teaching you the 5 steps to build your own startup, how you can become an entrepreneur. What are the steps? Because there are so many things like whenever a student, computer science aspirant who want to become an entrepreneur, there are several factors that are there. The correct kind of team that you should have, the vision that you should have, the implementation, and so many things which Anshuman will be sharing with all of you guys. So what I will want from you guys is make sure you watch until the very end of the video, because this will be a very important session. And whoever watch until the end of the video, like and until the end of the session, they will be getting a free CS course plus also participation certificate. So with that said, let us start with the intro of Anshuman Singh. Over to you, Anshuman.
Thank you, Swaroop. Thank you so much. Just a quick check from everybody. Can you clearly hear me? Am I clearly audible? Okay. And
Yes.
I have just shared my screen. Can you also tell me, can you see my screen on your screen right now, which has few things written? I'll actually elaborate what is written there. But like, if you can give me a quick yes, then I will look at that yes and then move ahead.
Yes, they are giving us.
Okay, great, awesome. Let me quickly start by my introduction first. Why am I taking this session? Um, the fact that I spend time at Facebook actually does not add a lot of value to this session. However, the fact that I have actually spent last 10 years building a company and actually having made so many mistakes, that makes me qualified to take this session. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking time talking about what mistakes not to make and what are the things that you should really focus on, which will increase the probability that you actually start a company and that company actually becomes successful. While this session is being done for people who might be in school and colleges, this session actually remains true for everybody. Whatever I'm going to tell you today, it is actually relevant for everybody. And given we have limited time, so I will try to make sure I only stick to the regular principles. I might not be able to, like, go into a lot of depth. I mean, I can talk about how to build your own startup for like hours and hours and hours. Today I don't have that luxury, but I'll tell you the important points. And the way I'm going to do that is structure that. First I will talk about the prerequisites, things that you sure you have before you jump into building a startup. That's part one. Part two is, fair enough, you have an idea. How do you validate that your idea actually has some strength in it? You don't go and start building and dedicating time to something which does not have any strength in it, and it is likely to fail. So that's the second part. How do you validate your idea? Third part is, what can you do and what should happen which increases the probability of success of your startup? So we will talk about that. Then we will talk about revenue and funding in general. And when you have that, then what should you focus on? And finally, are you the right person to be building a startup? That is the last section. Why you? That is the last section where we'll talk about what should happen with you, which will enable you to build a startup of your own. So those are the 5 things: prerequisites, validation of idea, how do you increase your probability of success, how do you get to revenue or funding, and finally, why you? Those are 5 things. Is that clear to everybody? Can I just get a quick yes if that's clear to everyone? Swaroop, you'll have to tell me whether I'm getting a
Yes.
yes or no. Okay. All right. Cool. So let's start with the prerequisites first. I meet a lot of people who say, fine, I'm in a job. I will probably work on an idea in parallel and I'll do it for 2 months. Let's see if something comes out, then I will figure out what to do. Look, all serious startups, all serious companies, all companies that were eventually successful had founders who were working on it full time. In fact, even full-time was less for them. So one of the things that you have to realize is one prerequisite for starting a startup or building a company is that you have enough time to work on it. If you are in a college, then you know that you've already done well on the courses. That means that gives you a lot of time to then work on the idea that you have. So that's either that, or if you have graduated out of college, then you have left your job and you're working full time on the idea that you have because you have such high conviction on it. So that is part one. You should have a lot of time, working on the startup. Otherwise, you will end up doing not a good job on the startup. That's part one. Part two, uh, I also see a lot of people say, look, I will work on this idea for 6 months. If it works out, great. Otherwise, I will move back to doing a job, or I will move that back to doing something else, etc., etc. One of the other things that is common with most founders who have went on to go and build successful companies was that when they started this startup, midway they realized they were almost desperate to succeed. There was no plan B, there was no backup option. Um, sorry, yeah, there was no backup option. Uh, they were desperate to succeed, they were desperate to make it work. So the desperation to succeed, having no plan B, saying that this is my only option, increases the amount of effort or seriousness that you have towards the idea. So that is prerequisite number one. Make sure you are dedicating a lot of time to it, and you're almost desperate for whatever you're doing to succeed. Second thing, you have to assume whatever you're going to build will not succeed in the first try. People are extremely lucky if it works in the first try. Most people, most people that I have seen, they actually pivot. They pivot multiple times. They go through multiple pivots before they succeed. What is a pivot? Pivot is, I start with an idea one. For example, let's say Airbnb. Airbnb is this massive company. I'm not sure. I think most of you might know about Airbnb. Airbnb actually started as this. So there was this election happening in US, and there was a in Washington there was a lot of rush. People were not able to find place, so they were able to convert some place into a bed and breakfast that you just get to sleep here and you'll have breakfast here. And they started from there. That was their first idea. Today Airbnb is a very different company. In fact, they failed multiple times before they hit what Airbnb is today. So you have to first assume that, look, it's not that you're going to come across an idea which is perfect on day one and like everything will work perfectly. You will have multiple pivots before you hit the right idea, which means it is going to take time. You will certainly not be able to build this massively successful startup in just 6 months. For example, for us, it took us 4 or 5 years before we started seeing a massive amount of traction for Scalar and Interview Bit. Took us time. It takes everybody time. Some people succeed in 2 years, some people do it in 3 years, some people actually start seeing some early form of traction in 4 years. It takes time. And if it is going to take time, then that means it will require patience. And if you need to have patience, which means you need to be sure that if, let's say, for the next 2 years, I have to continually work on this startup without making money, I don't have any source of income from this startup, then can I survive? Either I have a lot of savings or I am in a college. Because in college, usually you have mess and fees and everything paid for by parents. So hence you have that luxury. So either you are in college, so hence you don't have earning responsibilities, or you have so much savings that for the next 2 years, even if you don't earn, you're okay. That is your prerequisite number two. So prerequisite number one, time. Prerequisite number two, patience. And for that, savings or being in college, important. Third thing, there are a lot of people who only enjoy solving really hard problems. They only enjoy solving puzzles. But the reality is, sometimes building a startup requires you to do a lot of boring stuff for a long time, which might not be very, very fancy, very flashy, but it creates impact to your startup. I'll take our example. When we started, we started this platform called InterviewBit was this free platform where you could go and then you could start coding, you could learn coding. And because it was free, then we had no source of revenue, we had no money. So how do you make money? One of the things we realized was, because there are so many people coming here to practice, maybe we can start connecting these people to companies, because companies are looking to hire, and maybe we make revenue from the companies then. And we started doing that. And one part of the work that was involved there was calling a lot of companies, in fact trying to coordinate every single person that, hey, look, I have sent you this person's profile, please schedule the interview. Now we were just two people, and calling companies and calling recruiters to say, hey, please take interview of this person, that person, etc., is not very exciting work, but it is what was needed for the company at that point of time. And hence both me and my co-founder Abhimanyu, we both started acting as recruiters while we were all software engineers. And days and days we would just do calling just to make sure we were able to build our initial base of employers, initial revenue base, and initial brand amongst the consumers. And then obviously we hired more people to get start doing those things, right? So it is important that you're able to focus on doing one thing properly, and it might require you to do boring stuff, but you should be okay with doing that as long as it is leading to your company's success. That is the third prerequisite: focus and being able to do boring stuff. And finally, if those three are in place, then you should have a problem statement that you want to solve for, right? And you know that you have a better solution than everybody else. There is this one problem statement. I know a lot of people face this problem statement. I have a solution which is better than everybody else. I know that people will pay for this solution. In fact, there is this Delta 4 framework by Kunal Shah. If you guys find time, you should go and check it out. But I'll still maybe give you a brief of what is the Delta 4 framework. So Kunal Shah took example of certain products that have become very successful. For example, the Paytm website.
Anshuman, your voice is breaking a bit.
Okay.
अभी ठीक है. Now it's
Okay.
good.
It's fine
I'll
right
tell you if it is bad. Now it is okay.
Okay. If it breaks, then let me know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the first version of Paytm website, this was back in 2009, 2010, was a website where you could use the website to recharge your prepaid mobile number. And the other alternative was you had to go to the shop and you had to buy these vouchers which you would scratch, and then you would put in a code in your mobile and that would recharge your mobile, right? So you had two options. Either you could go to Paytm website, make a payment there very quickly, and you recharge your mobile for whatever, 500 rupees, 1000 rupees, versus you go to shop and then you buy this voucher. Obviously, going to the shop requires a lot more time. Now, this Paytm solution where you could do things online very quickly was so fast and so convenient as compared to going to a shop, that hence, even if the Paytm website was broken, in fact, like it was broken. Sometimes Paytm website would work, sometimes it won't work. Even if it was broken, even it was not a perfect website, people would still go to the Paytm website. In fact, Paytm is a old example. There is a newer example. If you have all of you have all of you booked a railway ticket through IRCTC? Can I just get a quick yes or no? Have all of you tried to book railway ticket through IRCTC? Swaroop, you'll have to tell me what people are saying. Are they saying yes? Are they saying no?
Yeah, they're responding. Will take time. Yes.
Okay, so everybody has booked tickets through IRCTC. Now, the alternative, IRCTC is, during rush times, obviously, like using IRCTC is not a pleasant experience. I remember once I was trying to book a ticket, it took me almost 30 to 40 minutes to be able to book one ticket, which is a bad experience, right? Like, You would say, why would people use a website where you take like 30-40 minutes to book a ticket? So the reason why people still went to IRCTC was because the alternative to IRCTC was actually going to the railway station and then buying a ticket from the counter. That would take me even more time. That would take me even more effort. So the one hypothesis was, if your solution is so much better than the existing solutions, there is almost a delta of 4 points on a 10-point scale. Like, for example, going and buying a ticket from a railway counter is, let's say, 3 out of 10 experience, and maybe buying a ticket from IRCTC, not great experience, but let's say 7 out of 10 experience. You will still go to IRCTC, no matter how broken the website is. And that's the first thing. If you're able to find solutions which are delta 4, which have already high impact, high delta, then your probability of success increases massively. But the same thing applies to Scalar as well. The first learning solution that we built online, that was much better than anything that existed on the internet then. And like, there was no way for working professionals to actually learn these things in a great way as compared to Scalar. Learning outcomes much better. Hence, a lot of people came here. Very similarly, now we have Scalar School of Technology for undergraduate education, which is a 4-year program. There also, we see that there is so much difference between a conventional college or a university versus what is taught at Scalar School of Technology, that even if there are few things here and there which might not be perfect, people still prefer to come to Scalar School of Technology. So that's how you have to think about your product idea as well. If you have an idea where there is a delta 4, then even if your execution is not perfect, things will still work out. If you choose the right market, choose the right problem statement, you'll still succeed. Second thing to keep in mind, one rule in the space of startup also is that building a painkiller is easier than building a vitamin. Now you might ask, what is a painkiller? What is a vitamin? Painkiller is something which is a, a strict need of a person. For example, if I have to travel, then buying a train ticket is a strict need. Buying a flight ticket is a strict need. It's not a vitamin. I have to buy a train ticket. I have to buy a flight ticket. After completing my class 12th, I have to go and do my undergraduate studies. So all of that is painkiller. Vitamins is some things that are nice to have. For example, I mean, maybe wearing this fancy watch is a nice to have. Having a car is a painkiller, but maybe having a fancy car with some fancy features might be a vitamin. Like, it's a nice to have. So vitamins are nice to have. Painkillers are must haves. If you are building a product that are must have, painkiller, it's easier. Typically, vitamins nice to have require more capital or more time to be built out. So that's another thing that you should keep in mind when you're choosing your problem statement. If you can choose painkiller, great. If you have a delta 4 solution, which means there is so much difference, that is awesome. So you were saying something?
No.
Okay. So prerequisite, let me repeat that. The first section, before you start working on your startup, things that you should check. This is a checklist. Do you have enough time to work on your startup? Almost to the point of desperation of success. Second, do you have resources which enable you to be patient? Which means, do you have enough savings? Or if you're in college, then you have your parent support so that you can work on your startup without actually getting rushed through it, without a timeline, without a deadline. Like, you can do multiple pivots. Third is, can you be focused enough for long? Can you work on boring stuff for long enough time? And fourth, finally, do you have a problem statement and a solution? Solution which is delta 4, or solution or problem statement which is painkiller mostly. If you have those, then you have a great start already. Okay, those are your prerequisites. That's clear to everyone? Yes. If that is clear, then I'll move to the next section, which is prerequisites is clear to me. I fulfill the prerequisites, or I will fulfill the prerequisites. Let me go to the next section, which is I have an idea, I have a solution. How do I ensure that this idea is the right thing? I mean, it is the right solution that I think of. And this is an important step because sometimes we perceive the world as we see the world around us. Imagine I am, hypothetically, let's say, I'm a rich kid. I live in this society. It is possible that a problem statement that I am thinking of is only faced by people who are really, really, really rich. I don't know because that's all I see around myself. I feel the entire India needs it. So hence it is important that you validate what is the what is the idea worth, like how many people really need your problem statement and your solution. So how do you validate idea, right? Firstly, most important thing is you basically talk to people, you talk to users. For example, one of the examples that Ankur Bariku takes is like for him, he was actually evaluating a few ideas that he wanted to build, and he had some money as well. So the way he validated which idea to work on was he actually built out these images which were the product that he wanted to build, and he started running ads. So imagine, let's say, 10,000 rupees for this one product, 10,000 rupees for this other product, 10,000 rupees for these other product. If a lot of people were clicking on this ad, then that meant that people really needed that solution. And then, yes, this is something I have to go and build. There's already validation that people want it. When they see an ad, they want to click on it because they really, really want it. So that is one way of obviously verifying your idea. The other way is like if you can find a lot of people to talk to, people who you feel might have this problem. You talk to them to understand, what do they really have this problem? The solution that you have, are they really excited about it? For example, there's this entire field of user research. Now, how do you do a user research? Let's say I can create wireframes of the solution that I want. Wireframe is very simple, right? You go on, I mean, there are various ways of wireframing. There is Balsamic, there is Figma, where you can create basic prototype of what your solution would look like. You don't need to code it. You just create a basic prototype. What are the boxes? How will the site or the app work? You create some screens. And then you take it to a user who might potentially have this problem and ask them, hey, look, I have this solution. Here is a solution. So here is the solution. Here's what the solution is going to look like. Does this solve your problem? Use it. In fact, like show me how you're using it, because I want to see what are you clicking on, what is the most important part to you, etc. That's called as user research. That tells me whether my solution is actually going to work or not. That's a good indicator whether people like my solution or not. Now, a lot of times when I tell people do this, people say, oh wait, but others are going to steal my idea. If I show them my prototype, then they're going to steal my idea. Look, one of the other things you have to understand if you have to build a successful company or a successful startup is that ideas have zero value. The entire meat is in execution. Lot of people have a lot of ideas. In fact, like the idea that you might have, it is very possible at this moment in time in the world, there are thousands of people who have the same idea. Question is, who is the person who is working on the idea and who is the person who will execute the best? That person, that company is going to win. Others are always going to lose. So do not be worried about people stealing your idea. Nobody is going to steal your idea. All you have to do is you have to do the right thing, which gets you to success faster. So hence, do user interviews, talk to people. For example, if some of you ever come to Bangalore, one of the unique things I noticed when I first came to Bangalore, my first visit, so I had gone to this cafe. I was sitting in the cafe, and there is this person who walked up to me, and he was going to every single table in the restaurant, and he showed me an app. This was a payment app, and he was like, "Hey, look, here is an app that I have built. Here is how it will make the payment so much faster, so much easier for you. Can you try making a payment using my app? Can you install it? Can you try making a payment? Show it how you show how would you would use my app." That is the kind of hustle or work that is required in the beginning to make sure your idea actually works. And that is very unique to Bangalore. You'll in fact, like, I would encourage all of you to also come to Bangalore. You'll find things like these happening. Founders going around trying to find validation for their idea, trying to get more feedback from the users, because this step is very, very important. If you have the right idea, if you have the right solution, then everything else in the later part of the journey will become easy. If you have the wrong solution, then everything else in later in the journey will become hard. So hence important to nail this down properly. So that's your second thing. I have now fulfilled my prerequisites. I have a problem statement. I have an idea, and I have also validated my idea. Everybody with me till now? You have fulfilled the prerequisites. You have an idea, you have a solution, and you have validated that your solution works. So you're at that stage now. Everybody with me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's then move on. What do I do so that
There
now,
are some doubts. Do you want to pick up on Anshuman?
sorry?
There are some doubts by them. Do you want to
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
up?
If there are questions, very happy to pick up questions as well. Maybe
Okay.
we can take a couple of questions before I move forward.
Yeah. What I will do is, okay. Let me read out the question. First is, India is a price sensitive market. So how can we find out the right opportunity? This is the
That's a
question.
very good question. So the way you have to think of, in fact, one of the things I had written here is market size. Now, what does market size mean? India is actually a combination of multiple kinds of market. There is an India one. India one is your upper middle class. So there are roughly around 50 lakh to 1 crore people in India who earn decently, and hence is one kind of market. In fact, like, even that 1 crore is a market bigger than most other markets. This is your upper middle class. Then there is your India 2. This is your India 2, which probably doesn't earn a lot, but it's able to earn enough to be able to survive, and it is able to pay for utility. Price sensitive, but willing to pay for utility, right? So this is your middle class slash lower middle class, right? Price sensitive, but if there is use, if there is value, then I will pay for it. I am happy paying for it, right? So all of your FMCG product, for example, soaps, play in this market. All FMCG product is they primarily target this market. This is where the volume is, and then this is where you will have typically roughly around 10 to 20 crore people. This is roughly 1 crore people, and then the majority, which is another 100 crore odd people, is your India 3. This is your class which is probably earning enough to be able to survive. So they then pay for things which are almost needed for survival, which means food, basic living necessities. Those are the things that they pay for. Um, this segment is extremely price sensitive, right? But they will pay for wherever there is higher need to be using it. So, for example, let's say something like a Geo. If I need to use a phone, something like a Geo would cater to all three segments in India. Now, when you think of your final startup, your final value is, if I, in a way, what is the value that you derive from every user, right? Let's say if that's one axis, which is my pricing per user. What is the value that I derive from every user? And then I have number of users that are using my product. I have two choices. I can price my product really, really low, and I have a lot of users using it. This is basically your Geo segment. Geo is not very expensive. The margins are very thin, but there are lots and lots of users, crores of users who are using Geo. Versus you have another strategy where, let's say, you have higher pricing per user, but you sell lesser number of items, right? For example, your cars. Let's say, for example, a Mercedes car. A Mercedes car is very expensive. It's like 60 lakhs, 50, 60 lakh rupee car. That's massively expensive. But maybe lesser number of people buying it. What you want is that the multiplication of these two things, the area under the curve, that is as high as possible. As long as that is above a threshold, then you can create a successful company out of it. For example, the revenue of um, LG company from smart TVs. LG is one of the leaders in the smart TV market, right? The revenue of LG company in smart TV market is in from India is roughly like 100 to 200 million dollars. And you'll find that there are a lot of other startups who probably charge a lot. They also end up making, in fact, like it is possible that a lot of universities, for example, Vellore Institute of Technology, that's a university. They release their financials. The revenue of Vellore Institute of Technology is also the same as the revenue that LG makes from smart TVs. Obviously, LG TVs are cheaper, 20,000, 40,000 rupees, more number of users versus, let's say, Vellore Institute of Technology, lesser number of users, but the fees is much, much higher per student. So your area under the curve is what matters. So the way you have to think about it, are you building the product for? India 1, 2, or 3? And then how are you pricing your product? Obviously, if you're building it here, then your price should be higher. Otherwise, you won't have enough area under the curve. Sarup, over to you for the next question.
Yes. The next question that is there is, so I will take three things because those three are similar. One is, I'm in college. Is it okay to start in bootstrap way as part time? And another is like similar to that. What languages are actually needed if not bootstrap? Like what languages are actually needed to build an app and put it in app store or play store like that? And the same is another question also. Sir, I have a question like that. Should we start focusing on studies or work for a startup in our BTech or like college?
Right. I think the main answer to firstly, what languages should I learn? What skills should I build? Should I build the startup now or should I focus on the studies right now? Some of those I will just be answering in the fourth section that I have, where I specifically said like, why are you the right fit to build a startup? There I will talk about both things. One is what should you know if you want to build a startup, and when is the right time to go and build a startup, right? What are the prerequisites, right? So we will do that in the later section. So Sarup, if you don't mind, I will just delay that question for a little bit.
Sure.
I will take the question a little later, but I will definitely answer that question as well.
Okay, okay.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I'll move on to the next section, which is we now have the prerequisites sorted. We have validated the idea. Now, what do I do so that my probability of success increases? Okay. And here are certain terminologies which, by the way, investors also use. So you'll also keep hearing these terms from investors because this is how investors also evaluate your company. So the first thing is your founder market fit, which is the problem that you are solving. What makes you capable of solving that problem? For example, let's take education. In education, if you see most edtech companies that have succeeded, were companies that were started by educators themselves. These are companies where the person who started the company was very relevant to the problem statement. For example, one of the most successful edtech companies is PhysicsWala, and the person who started PhysicsWala, Alak Pandey, he is a teacher himself. He's been teaching for a while, so he understands that market in and out of how to teach students, what do students want, what kind of students are there, and hence if I have to build something for the students, what should that look like? Very similarly, you'll find there are a lot of these companies which are called as SaaS companies, software as a service, which means I build some product and my consumers or my buyers are not people but rather companies buy my product. Now, the person who, for example, builds a database, a new kind of database which companies would buy, typically you will find that that person was working as an engineer in the database team of this large company. Where they ended up this database, all they did was they left the company, they replicated the same database, they built it again, and they started selling it to other companies. So the first question is, what makes you the best person to solve a problem statement? Maybe you have been close to the problem statement, right? For example, you'll find that a lot of successful companies in the agricultural space come from people who have been living in villages themselves. For example, this is one company that deals with purchasing and selling of cattle. So, cows, buffaloes, and sheep and goats and things like that. It's a fairly large company now. The people who built that were people who had lived in villages, had faced this problem firsthand themselves, and also were skilled in tech. So they were able to bring both these skills together and were able to build this company. So you have to ask yourself this question: what is your superpower as of today? Are you exposed to, which not a lot of people are exposed to? You understand that really, really well, and hence you will be able to solve a problem really well. For example, in my case, when I came back to India, we could have taken up multiple kinds of ideas. Like, one of the reasons why we said we want to solve for tech learning and tech education is because me and Abhimanyu, we were very sure that when it comes to technology, we were good at it. Not, I mean, better than most other people in India. And hence, if we start building an education product around it, we will do a better job than most other people. That's called as founder market fit. These founders are suited to build a product here. They have better chance than other people who might come from a generic background. So that's your founder market fit. So firstly, if you have that, it's not mandatory, but if you have that, then your probability goes up. Two, what do you bring to the table? Why are you the founder? Right? Like, for example, if I'm very good at tech, if I am the one building the product, then there is a reason for me to be the founder. Because if I am the founder, I will quickly build whatever is needed. I will not wait for somebody. I will go and quickly build. If I get feedback from the market, or let's say from somebody using it, from a user, I will go and quickly fix it. So you have to question, what exactly are you bringing to the table? Maybe you have great tech skills. Maybe you have great marketing skills. Maybe you have great business skills, whatever it is. But has to be something that you bring to the table that you're really, really good at. Unless you're skilled, you just don't build a company because an idea came to you. You have to bring something to the table. That's the second thing important if your company has to succeed. And third thing, and this is something that an investor would also look at, is if you do a really good job, then how big can this company become? Right? What do I mean by that? Right? So, for example, um, let's say I say, oh wait, I will build this company that let me see what can. Hypothetically, let's say I say I will build this company that will build this specific tool for a mechanic. And hypothetically, let's say there are only 100,000 mechanics in India. Now, even in the best case, even if I build a great tool, the best case is I am able to sell that tool to all 100,000 mechanics. So my best case, if I capture 100% of the market, then I get whatever is 100,000 multiplied by the price of my tool. And this becomes my market size. I cannot earn more money than this, even in the best case. Realistically, what I'll earn is probably 5% of it, 5 to 10% of it, right? Because I can't capture every single mechanic. That becomes my market size. That is how big my company can be. Versus, let's say you're building something which is very, very critical to primary daycare or primary health care. Every single doctor is going to need it. Now, doctors are everywhere. There are millions of doctors. There are billions of patients. And if you do a great job there, then your market size is almost everybody on the planet. And then in the best case, your company becomes really, really large. The reason why people look at it is because if you play in bigger markets, your probability of success is higher. Even if you do a substandard job, you'll still end up making a decent company. You'll find a niche, you'll find a one specialization, and you'll end up doing still a good job. If you play in a very, very small market, extremely small market, it is possible you succeed, but you'll eventually end up not creating a large company. It will still be a very, very small company. So those are the three things that are idea based on what you're working on. That decides your probability of success. If these three things are there, then your probability of success is higher. Now, there are other things which are in your control. What can you control, right? For example, thing in your control is typically you'll find all founders of successful companies have extremely high bias for action. What do I mean by that? Which means they will not, if they have an idea, if they have a feature to build, they will not spend 1 month thinking about what to build, how to build. They would quickly go and execute and then check whether this solution works or not with the users. They have very high bias for action. Kar dalo, do it. Whatever is done is better than perfect. Essentially, the philosophy is done is better than perfect. Just do it. It's okay, you will break things, but just go and do it. Build something. That is always better. That will always, and the more you keep doing it, look, your probability of success increases because something or the other is going to work. Others can't compete with, big companies can't compete with you because you just go and get things done in a day, and it takes like 6 months for a big company to go and implement that feature, right? So the faster you are, the more higher bias for action you have, the more the probability of success. Second thing, this is a principle that was coined by Paul Graham, who is from Y Combinator. He said, like, if you're starting a company initially, in the beginning, in the early phases, do things that don't scale, but gives you a good idea about what people need. You remember the example I took about this user who came to me in the cafe and said, like, please install my app, use it in front of me. Obviously, that does not scale. If tomorrow that app has to be installed by 1 million or hundreds of millions of people, he can't go to every single user and say, install my app. I want to see how you're using the app. Single person, right? Like, can only do that with maybe 10 people, 20 people. But in the beginning, it is important to do these kind of things, which gives you insights on how users use your product, whether they are happy, whether they are unhappy. In fact, in the beginning, you should be monitoring every single user, how they're coming to the website, what pages are they clicking on, where are they dropping off. You should be monitoring every single action to say what problems they might be facing in my website. So in the beginning, do things that do not scale, that give you insight on what is working versus what is not working. Okay, so that's the second thing which you can do to increase your probability. Third thing, and this is very important, this is something that I see missing in most students: resourcefulness. What is resourcefulness? The moment you start a company, the moment you start building a product, the moment you start building a startup, you are the owner of the startup. Which means the answer that, oh wait, I only know tech, I can't do something else, is a bad answer. Whatever is required for the company to succeed, you do that. You go, you Google, you figure out how to do it. If the company requires you to be a salesman, you be a salesman. If the company requires you to be a recruiter, you be a recruiter. If the company requires you to figure out how to market, you do that. If the company requires you that you should go and visit 10 companies today and try to sell, you do that. Whatever is required. So the one skill that founders, the moment you start a company, you need to develop is, firstly, you get your hands dirty, do whatever is required. Two is, You talk to people, talk to your users, talk to other founders, talk to other leaders to get their help, their advice on what you could be doing better. So become resourceful. Don't just say, oh, it's not okay. For example, I need to figure out a small office space. Do I need to go and rent a big office space, or do I need to just go and talk to maybe some founders? Maybe there is some space that they have where I can fit that might be cheaper. All of that is resourcefulness. So an answer that I can't do it, not my field, not my expertise, bad answer. The moment you start a startup, everything is your responsibility. Go figure it out. Become resourceful. Talk to people. Get the answers. Get to the answers. That's your responsibility. And finally, you can't be just planning. You have to start showing early traction. You have to start to show that, hey, look, now people are using my product, which means you have been smart about how to market. For example, when we launched InterviewBit, question was, how do I get my initial set of users? It's a coding product, but like, how do I find out my initial set of users? So what we did was we started going to colleges. We would go to colleges and we would exclusively release only for that college. And we would do some form of competition, some form of giveaway. But going to one college gave us like 200, 400, 600 new users without having to spend anything. Probably like we spent whatever the amount for is for one t-shirt, which is what, like 400 rupees. So 400 rupees, 400 users. Like my cost of acquisition was 1 rupee per user. So figure that out. Like what can you do which works for you, which helps you get users really, really quickly. And the second thing, obviously, all of this will not work unless you have a good product, right? Like if people don't love your product, they don't want to use your product, to do any form of marketing, it doesn't going to, it's not going to help you. So assuming you have a good product, then you figure out the right marketing strategies and show early traction. That early on, I have these many users who are using it and very excited about using it, right? So then you have a case that your company is working. If you have these things, if you have great market size, you have founder market fit, you are very, very skilled yourself, your product is loved, you have early traction now. In that case, in fact, it is very possible you might also get funded. You go and pitch to a few VCs, few angel investors, people will take interest, and you might be able to raise some small amount of fund from here and there, either from an incubator or from a regular VC, if you have these things in place. Now, if you have that, if you have these in place, either you will have revenue or you will have funding. Then the next thing to do is just focus on executing. How do I get more users? How do I grow what I have instead of trying to do too many things? Next stage, which is your, in a way, you've raised pre-seed if you have this. From there to seed or series A, whatever you want to call it, you just focus. You focus, you grow your product. You make sure your number of users increase, people love you even more, you have better and better traction trying to solve the same problem statement that you had. You can still experiment. Some things might work, some things might not work, but make sure you focus on one problem statement. Don't get distracted by, hey, look, somebody else is also building that, maybe that looks very cool, let me go and do that. The more you do that, the lesser the chances of success. So this is your blueprint of how you go about creating a startup. Very short blueprint. I'll also very quickly talk about why you, what should you do, which makes you fit. And I think I have answered this question partially in the previous section, but let me maybe elaborate once more. First thing is you should have a market fit. Whatever problem statement you're working on, you should have some relevance to that market. Now that depends on the problem statement you're solving, the startup that you're building. Second thing, which is in your control, is how skilled are you? Which means, what do you bring to the table? Now, what are the options here? Either I am a great software engineer, which means no matter the tech stack, you tell me that there's an idea to be implemented, I will go and implement it. Right? Now, a good way to get started here is make sure that you have paid attention to your coding classes in college. You have taken at least one tech stack. Now that could be, let's say, Python, Django, React, or you have, let's say, Mern stack, or you have Java Spring Boot stack, something. You have at least one tech stack where you have built things in enough depth. You know that I am very confident of building things from scratch. I mean, if you can go and contribute to open source, maybe do some of that, that is very, very helpful. But even if you haven't done that, as long as you have enough confidence on building, then that's a great starting point. Right? So either you have that. And finally, you know that you're very good at learning new stuff. Even if tomorrow, let's say now I have to integrate AI into it, I have to figure out like what is the right kind of prompt to give. I know I'll be able to learn. I'll be able to experiment and learn. Like those are the things that skills that you're trying to build. Ability to learn quickly, the right kind of tech stack, and proficiency in coding. Those are three things that you're trying to build. So either I have that, or what I have is, let's say, I am great at, maybe I have a co-founder who is very great at tech, but my expertise, let's say, is GTM, marketing and sales. Either I'm a marketing and sales genius. Now, this typically comes from experience, to be very honest. A lot of people feel, oh, wait, I'm very innovative, I will do great in marketing and sales. To be honest, like making mistakes in marketing and sales and learning from those mistakes is very expensive. It's best done at the cost of some other company, which means you have worked for a company, you've been able to make mistakes there. That is okay. If you have to make mistakes in your own company, those every single mistake is going to cost you a lot of money and time. So if you are the marketing and salesperson, if that's your forte, make sure it's not just because you believe you're great at marketing and sales. Make sure you have decent amount of experience there, and that's why you can say I am great at marketing and sales. Or the final thing is, look, I am great at business, I have very strong credentials, which means a lot of people want to work with me. If you're a student, third is probably not an option. If you're a student, most probably this is an option, or this is an option. If you do an MBA and then you do maybe build a career in marketing and sales and you work somewhere, then this is an option. If you're doing bachelor's, probably building the tech skills right now, that is the option. Probability wise, you'll find that most companies that have been created in the last decades, most startups that have been created in the last decades, had tech founders. So this is a great path to be on, as long as you're really good at tech and building things. You have to be a tinkerer, right? So for the person who asked when is the right time, if you are financially secure, which means your parents are paying your fees, you know that that's not a problem. I have time in college, I can dedicate enough time here, and you're now confident that I have learned these things, I'm better than most people when it comes to building stuff. That's the right time. If you're not there, then you start figuring out what else do I do? Can I build some projects? Can I start doing things on the side, which will help me gain confidence here? The day you have confidence, the day you know that anything in the world I can go and build, that time you're ready. And that only comes from practicing. Just go and build a lot of stuff, that will give you confidence. So that's the thing to focus on. Basically, if you have to be successful, your own skills, your own capabilities are a massive factor in the success probability of your startup. In fact, one of the things, I'm sorry, I'm just taking a diversion here. One of the things that we do at Scalar School of Technology is that we have an innovation lab. And in the innovation lab right now, because people are still in the phase of building their skills, so right now what we do is we invite founders from outside. There are a lot of founders who are trying to build their startup 0 to 1, right? Like they have just started. We specifically try to find founders who are building in the deep tech space. So let's say they're building an AI company or a robotics company. And we tell them, hey, why don't you come to Scalar School of Technology and you build it from here? We'll give you free space. And in the process, then they end up hiring, or let's say taking help from students. And then students get to work with them. That gives them exposure of how products are built. And that exposure basically gives you then confidence that if I have to build my own startup, now I can do it. I know what kind of mistakes happen in a startup, what kind of things are important, what kind of skills are needed, and now I have confidence to go and build my own startup if I want to. In fact, one of the other things that we've done at Innovation Lab is that every month there is a representative from a venture capitalist. So we have people from Peak 15, which is Sequoia Capital. We have people from Lightrock, who come on the campus, and they spend time with founders there and the people in the innovation lab just to make sure if they are not working in the right direction, how do you correct direction? How do you again increase the probability of startups in the innovation lab? Why I'm telling you this? Because all of this helps you improve your probability of success. If you have worked with an early stage company, it will improve your probability of success because you have seen how they fail or what are the things to do. If you have already done an internship, if you have built something that will give you confidence on your skills and hence might be worthwhile doing. If you are in touch with early stage founders, then again, like you can take advice from them. If you're in touch with people from the venture capitalist industry, then they tell you what is working, what is not working, what are the things in the market, what is their thesis. That helps you think about the right kind of ideas, all contributing to the success probability. With that, I will pass it to Sarup. Sarup, you can now unmute yourself and maybe ask a few questions which people are asking in the chat.
Yep, I have listed them down.
Okay.
Let me take the questions. So there are so many questions those guys are asking. So some are saying they have ideas how to connect with you. Some are saying how to register a company. Some are saying like so many things. So let me start from first where we have left actually. Can we start up from bootstrap, or we have to start it from entire coding or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what they mean by bootstrap is without raising funds, right? Bootstrapping is where you don't have to raise funds. You can start a startup like that. And yes, I mean, the good thing about tech is unlike, so for example, let's say in 1980s, 1970s, if you had to start a company, usually you would have to set up a factory. To set up a factory, then you have to build this building. You need to buy machines, which is very, very expensive affair. Today, to start a company, you need nothing but a laptop. You build your website, you build your app or whatever it is, and then like that gets you started. So today, starting a company is very accessible, and yes, you can build a bootstrap company. However, the reason why I detail you all of this to you is even if you're building a bootstrapped company, all of these are factors which you should follow. These are the steps you should follow. You should first check for prerequisites. You should validate your idea. And then you should do these things to increase the probability of success of your bootstrapped company. If you get all three in place, then your idea succeeds.
Yeah. So there is a question. What unique problem am I passionate about solving, and how can my skills and resources address it in a way that stands out in the market? So let me paste it in the chat.
Yeah. No, I think I understood the question. To be honest, I can't do all for you. There are some things that you have to think about yourself. What unique problem are you passionate about? That obviously you should know. How will I know? so don't expect me to spoon feed everything. That is your responsibility. You figure out like what are you very passionate about, what will you do really well at, and then you try to think of what are the problem statements in that field.
And there is another question: how to register a company?
Okay, so that's one more thing. Like, I mean, yes, when you start a company, regulations, making sure you have a registered company, all of that will become important. But look, the hardest part about your company is not going to be how to register your company. You can always hire a CA to do that the day you have traction. The hardest part about a company is how do I build a product that people start using? So today I would say, don't worry about registering a company. A lot of people will tell you otherwise, but I'm telling you from my experience, don't worry about registering a company today. Work on first building an app or something, some product which people want to use. Show some early traction there, that now you have 100 users or 200 users and everybody is using it. Then you think about registering a company. And for registering a company, if you need, let's say, 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, and now you're at this stage, anybody will give you that. And a CA will do it all for you. You don't have to do anything.
This is done. Some are having some ideas, so I want to connect with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I will be able to connect with everybody. However,
Exactly.
if you have an idea that you believe has merit, you can message me on LinkedIn. You can search for my profile, Anshuman Singh, on LinkedIn. You can always message me there, or you can also message the Scalar School of Technology page on LinkedIn. Usually, the messages that go there are also relayed to me whenever they are relevant to me. So they will be pasted to me, and then I'll be able to reply to that.
Cool. That is answer. And will this video be available? Yes, this video will be available after this session also. You can come and watch in the channel. And yeah, hopefully most of the questions we have answered it all. Like so many questions are asking, like coding related questions are also like these all we have answered in this video itself. Those who have joined late, those guys can check this video again. So yeah, overall these are the questions, Anshuman. There is some questions related to SST also, seats left.
Okay. Uh, I think we created a video on SST on like number of seats left. In general, the answer is seats. I mean, the last entrance exam is going to happen on 9th of August. And we don't cap on number of seats, but we rather look for number of people who qualify. The space and the infrastructure and the number of teachers, etc., that we have, that can accommodate 10x the number of people that we have today. So number of people is not the concern. The quality bar is the concern. And to be honest, like very unfortunately, we haven't been able to find enough number of people. So the number of, I can maybe disclose internal numbers as well. The total number of admissions right now till date, and it might increase obviously, till date is 300 is the number of students who have taken admissions in SST this year after having gone through the test and the interviews. Our selection rate has been less than 3%, which means there are already more than, actually, we've had roughly 15,000 odd people who have applied for the test, and like these 300 are selected from there.
Yes.
So if you are qualified, if you are good, I mean, don't worry about the number of seats.
Correct. And also there are two last intakes for those who wanted to interested in this. And
Yeah, it's the last intake, so I would really recommend, please go and try, at least give it
correct.
a try. You
Yeah.
you never know. Give
For
it a
everyone, we will also share a code which you can try and get a 500 rupees waiver also on the application. And there is one question. So someone is very impressed with the innovation lab idea, and he's in some another university. So the innovation lab sounds really aspiring entrepreneurs and students. Although, how can students who are already in another university can be able to access that or something?
Yeah, I mean, so right now the priority zero is obviously catering to the students that are within Scalar School of Technology, because there is higher control on their time share, right? Like one of the things, one of the reasons why founders hire within Scalar School of Technology for smaller things is because they know that they can work with us to get exemption at places which allows students to spend more time on the companies itself. Uh, because we have higher control, hence preference given within Scalar School of Technology. Uh, Now we don't know, but we are trying to see if we can plan. Sorry, 1 second. I'll stop sharing. We're also seeing whether we can plan internships which are open for people externally for Innovation Lab as well. We'll see when it happens. for now, one of the things that we are opening to external folks is, and you should be on the lookout for that, is that there are a lot of tech leaders who will come to Scalar School of Technology to take a course. For example, Amod Malvi, who was the CTO of Flipkart and is now the founder of Udaan, took a course on computer architecture last year. He'll be taking it this year as well. This year also we have Jitendra, who was earlier the CTO of Cast24. He's currently VP at Geo Cinema, and earlier was the VP at Hotstar. He would also be taking a course. So some of those we will open to external audience as well. We'll be selective there. If there are some people who get selected are in Bangalore, can come and attend those courses live, apart from the current students at SST. So we'll start with that, and then we'll see like what we can do on the innovation lab side.
Yeah. So many are asking about CS course. I hope that link is already shared. A form will be shared with you, and I would request to pin that form. And if not, I will only go and pin. So you can fill that form, and there is a time that is before 11:59 p.m. You have to.
Yeah, maybe just so that like everybody has the same context. Look, Scalar School of Technology is a 4-year undergraduate residential program that happens in Bangalore. It's a 2+1+1 program, which means there is 2 years of fundamentals, 1 year of internship, and then 1 year of specialization in either AI machine learning or advanced form of software engineering, which includes cybersecurity and other stuff, or algo trading. Those are the 3 specializations that you have, and then you graduate. You end up graduating with a MS from a European university, and obviously you have a bachelor's from BITS Pilani. In general, like Scalar has tie-ups with more than 900 employers. In fact, every single large employer you can think of, every single large startup you think of, like Scalar already has tie-ups with them. So I mean, can't go wrong with Scalar School of Technology, if you will. In fact, the intake this time around, the 300 people that I talked about, roughly 20% of intake are people who had more than 97 percentile in JEE mains. A lot of people have left IITs to be here. There are roughly 18% who had academically more than 96% in their class 12th. And there are another roughly 15% who already built something in tech. While that's not a prerequisite, we start from basics, but they built something in tech before coming here. So the intake is also very, very high quality. So if you're here, you'll have the right quality of peers, right quality of program, all optimized to make sure some of you go and become tech leaders in the future.
Cool. And someone is asking eligibility for Scalar School of Technology. It is 12th passed, and also there are some specific year graduate like.
Yeah, I mean, there's an age criteria. There is, you should have graduated from class 12th already. Your marks in math should be more than 60. And then we do a test. This is a test on aptitude mostly. And then we do a couple of interviews. There is if you go on Scalar School of Technology channel, YouTube channel, you will find a bunch of videos. In fact, there's a playlist which is Get to Know Scalar School of Technology Better. There you will find all of this information.
Exactly. Someone is also asking for PG program, post graduation.
Yeah, we don't run a PG program right now. We only have an undergraduate program in Scalar School of Technology. The only PG program right now we have is a management program, which is like equivalent of an MBA, which is called Scalar School of Business. You can Google for Scalar School of Business. You'll find a bunch of resources. You can do your own research, and you can apply if you're interested. We also do a bunch of 1-year online programs, which are either in software engineering or in data science. If you want to check that, that is information for that is available on scalar.com, which is the parent website.
Part of innovation lab that is already discussed. Someone is asking related to BTech plus MBA. Should we have to do that or not?
I mean, we don't do BTech plus MBA. We do we do bachelor's plus MS. I'm sure there are other institutes. For example, BITS Pilani does offer a BTech plus MBA program, which is a 5-year integrated program. And then, I mean, if you're interested in management, then sure, you should explore that. You should definitely explore that. Like a lot of people complete their BTech and then they get into an MBA, and they make for great management professionals.
we can pick this last question. How SST stands out from other colleges?
Um, I'll give a very short answer, and then I would really implore you to please go and check the Scalar School of Technology YouTube channel. There is a
I guess
place
other
there.
new age colleges it is.
Okay, on new age colleges. So the thing is, I don't want to compare, because when I compare, then I have to say bad things about other people, which I don't want to do. So what I would rather recommend is, please go and look at some of those videos which tells you about what is there in SST. In general, however, if a lot of, I mean, what you should maybe do research on is, when people have offer from multiple of these places. Let's say they have offer from multiple new age institutes. Which new age institutes are people usually joining? That's data point number one. Because wherever they are joining in numbers, probably that institute is better. Two is, if you look at the top tier institutes in India, be it your IITs, NITs, triple ITs, which institute are people going to after leaving these institutes? Whichever institute they are going in more number, whichever institute is more selective, probably that institute is better. So those are two data points for you to look at, which you should explore on your own. I don't want to just say that I am better than everybody else.
Yeah. So again, quickly, for CS course, there is a form that you guys can fill before the deadline so that you can access it for free. And the next thing is, if you are very interested, if you are like 12 passed out and if you are really interested into Scalar School of Technology, there is a coupon code. You can use it for NSET application, and you can have a waiver of 500 rupees. And also there is a Telegram group. You can also join that. And that is all about. We have covered almost all of the questions, Anshuman, and yeah, it was a great session. So many insights and everything. We can close it now. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much for listening to me. And hopefully some of you will go and start your own companies in the future. If there is even a single person from here who goes and does that, I will consider this session to be very successful. All the best, folks. All the best, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.